The beast of Obudu Hill. The fog clung to Obudu Hill like an old spirit, weak and stubborn, crawling over every tree trunk and root, muting even the birds. But in the heart of the clearing, the fog dared not hide the beast. It stood alone, a mountain of flesh and muscle, scared from battles long past. Its fur was black, streaked with silver and mud, patchy in places where old wounds never healed. One eye was blind, clouded and white like a weathered stone, but the other, sharp, amber like a hunter's flame, washed everything. It breathed in warrior's fear, its massive chest rising slowly. It did not move, not at first, it only stared. Then it charged. The roar shattered the air, louder than thunder, and the ground trembled with it. The first man screamed before his legs could move. His body hit the earth before his blood did. Then the forest exploded. But the story did not begin here. It began in Umuofia, where the skies closed their hearts. Before the drought, the village was a song. The sun rose to women pounding yam with rhythm and singing lullabies even before the babies woke. Children ran under the great Iroko tree, kicking up dust and laughter. Men returned from the forest with antelope on their backs, slapping shoulders and sharing jokes. In the market, Mama Ngozi roasted groundnuts near her fire, swatting mischievous boys and slipping them extras with a wink. Chike's flutes played near the well, his tunes called around the village like smoke. At night, drums beat, and when the moon was full, everyone danced. Then came silence. The first year of drought was a warning, the second a plea, the third was punishment. The yams cracked in their beds, the streams turned to dust, the goats coursed through the heat, thin and defeated. Laughter left Umuofia. Chike's flutes broke. The drums gathered cobwebs. People whispered again, not to each other, but to the land. They begged it to speak. It didn't. That was when the beast came. Not at first, just stories. Hunters returned saying they saw footprints, huge, deeper than a man's hand. Trees were snapped like twigs. Animals were gone. Birds no longer nested in certain trees. The wind no longer blew from Obudu Hill. Someone said it was a gorilla. Others whispered that it was no ordinary creature, that it was Oduchi, the one who returned, not from a place, but from a memory. They said it once guarded the forest, that it slept until the land was wounded, until too many trees were cut, too many sacred groves burned for farming, that it rose not for blood, but to remind Umuofia. Umuofia did not listen. One dusk, under the lean shadow of the Iroko, the elders gathered the starving village. The sun hung red over hills. Chief Okeke, old and pound, leaned on the staff. His voice carried like an ass splitting wood. "We will not die in silence," he said. "The beast steals what little life remains. I call for 100 men to take Obudu Hill. We will end this." The murmur started. Fear, bitterness, then promises. Each warrior who goes will receive goats, cloth and yams, and the one who kills the beast, Okeke said, pausing, will be given land as far as the sun can chase his shadow. A hush. Then a voice, steady, strong. "Let the forest remember our names." Uchenna, broad-shouldered, eyes full of flame, newly married. His wife, Chiamaka, stood at the back, hand clenched to her chest. Uchenna stepped forward. "I will lead," he said. "We will not return empty." They cheered, but thinly, like people trying to believe their own hope. Oba was next, quiet, older, He had walked the forest more times than most. He knew its heartbeat. He knew its grief. He only nodded. Okeke read names from a palm scroll. Kelechi, Nnamdi, Ifeanyi, Eteka, Obi, Ikenna, one by one. Some came willingly. Some had to be pulled from the crowd. Obi tried to run. His brother dragged him back. Ikenna wept silently as he joined. The women did not sit still. Mama Nkechi clung to Eteka, her only son. "You are my heart," she cried. "Don't make me bury it." Eteka, barely 17, wiped her tears. "You gave me strength. Now let me use it." Chiamaka said nothing. She only held Uchenna's hands, eyes locked on his face. "Don't die with songs in your mouth," she whispered. He kissed her forehead. "We will dance again." That night, the village moved with the heaviness of ritual. Spears were sharpened, their tips dipped in black Ogu poison. Nets were tightened, ropes braided with trembling hands. Pits were dug with sweat and tears. The elders sat by the fires, muttering old prayers they hadn't used in years. The next morning, the warriors lined up. Women tied charms to their wrists. Some kissed their warriors, others simply watched. Mama Nkechi placed a charm in Eteka's palm, her fingers lingering. Chiamaka's eyes didn't blink as she touched Uchenna's face one last time. Then they marched. The forest swallowed them. The air grew colder as they climbed. Birds stopped singing. The trees leaned overhead like mourners. Bones were found, some animal, some not. Footprints too large for any known beast. Claw marks on trees. A broken spear covered in moss. They camped at the foot of the hill. No one laughed. They spoke in whispers. Uchenna stared into the fire. Oba sat apart, tracing lines in the dirt. Eteka hugged his knees. Ikenna touched the charm on his chest. Dawn came grey. They reached the clearing. The beasts waited. The forest held its breath. The warriors, nearly 100 in number, spread out through the thick fog that coiled around the hilltop like an old spirit. Every step forward felt like a heartbeat stolen from the gods. The silence was heavy. No birds, no crickets, even the wind dared not whisper. Then they saw it. The beast emerged from behind the misted trees, not rushing, but walking slowly, deliberately, as if it owned the hill and the earth beneath it. It was massive, taller than any man strong among them, perhaps 8 feet, with a chest wide as a bamboo. Its fur was dark, so dark it seemed to drink the morning light, matted in patches, tangled with thorns, blood and dried mud. Scars crisscrossed its shoulders and arms like stories carved by time. One eye was blind, glassy, grey, but the other burned amber, intelligent and furious. It was no ordinary beast. It stopped in the clearing, watching them. Its breath rose in thick clouds, every exhale like a warning. Then it roared. The roar cracked the air, shook the leaves and broke the courage of many. 20 men dropped their weapons and turned, fleeing into the woods like deer. They didn't look back. The fog swallowed them whole. No one ever saw them again. Uchenna stepped forward, lifting his spear. "Hold the line!" But it was too late for Chidi. The beast moved with impossible speed, swinging a massive arm that hit Chidi across the skull. His head twisted unnaturally, and he crumpled to the ground like a rag doll. Nwosu raised his spear and lunged, but the gorilla met him with its teeth, ripping his jaw clean off in one horrific snap. He screamed through gurgled blood until a merciful blow silenced him. Spears flew, some hit, most bounced off thick muscles and bone. The gorilla charged again. Obiora was next. His spear thrust into the beast's side, drawing a hiss of pain, but that was all. The gorilla grabbed him by the shoulders, lifted him high, and tore him in two. His entrails hit the ground first. Obiora's final cry was not for help, but for his mother. The warriors hesitated. Fear spread like fire. Uchenna shouted, "Circle it!" The trained ones responded. They moved in tens, nets stretched wide, ropes drawn tight. The plan was simple. Entangle the beast's limb, force it to the ground, strike the heart. Kelechi and Eze moved with their group from the left. Eteka, Mama Nkechi's boy, climbed the tree, dagger between his teeth. Oba moved silently on the right, eyes scanning for weakness. The nets landed. The beast roared and twisted, dragging 5 men across the muddy ground. One of them, young Ikenna, stabbed at his thighs. The gorilla grabbed his arm and snapped it in two, then brought a foot down on his head. Blood splashed across the tree trunks. Eteka leaped from above, blade slashing the gorilla's shoulder. The beast rolled, reaching over its back, and caught him mid-air. With one hand, it hauled him to the ground, base of the tree. His neck struck the trunk with a crunch. He didn't move again. Uchenna and Oba charged together. Oba thrust a poisoned spear into its left thigh. The beast staggered, swiping wildly, but Uchenna was faster. He ducked under the swinging arm and stabbed deep into the breast rib. The gorilla screamed, its voice a horrible blend of pain and hatred. It slammed both fists into the ground, sending 2 men flying backward like tossed stones. Nnamdi, who had fought alongside his son Ifeanyi, screamed as the beast grabbed the boy by the chest and flung him like a rag. The boy hit a rock. Nnamdi ran to him, only to have the gorilla bring down a blow that crushed his back like dry wood. Father and son died tangled together. Blood ran in rivers. One man, Chukwu, tried fire. A torch was thrown. The beast caught flame along its right arm and hold. Its force sizzled, smoke rising, the stench of burning hair sharp in the air. For a moment, it stumbled. Oba shouted, "Now!" 10 men charged. 5 fell before they reached it. One warrior managed to lodge a spear in its shoulder, but the gorilla grabbed him by the legs and swung him into the tree. The trunk cracked. So did the man's skull. Uchenna, breathing hard, knew the poison was working. The beast was slowing, its movements heavier, its roars weaker, but it was not done. It turned, bleeding from multiple wounds, and ran, crashing through the trees like a boulder. They followed. They tracked his blood through the fog, stepping over roots and the broken bodies of their brothers. For what felt like hours, they stalked it deeper and deeper into the roots. Then Uchenna found it. It stood in a shallow hollow leaning on a tree. It was breathing hard. Blood soaked its fur. Its one good eye glowed faintly. Uchenna stepped forward. The beast didn't roar. It charged one last time. Uchenna didn't retreat. He ducked, stabbed upward, the blade slicing under its armpits into the rib, where the poison could reach its heart. The gorilla howled, staggering, swatting him away. He hit the ground hard, groaning, bleeding. The gorilla grabbed him by the waist, lifted him like a child, and smashed him against a tree. Bones cracked, then it smashed him again, this time onto the rock nearby. Obi arrived as Uchenna fell. He saw his friend's eyes go dim. With a cry, Oba drove his own spear into the beast's side. Others followed. One cut its hamstring, another stabbed its throat. The gorilla groaned, fell to its knees. It swung once more, grabbing Eze and crushing his rib before collapsing beside Uchenna. It was over. Silence returned to the forest, broken only by moans of the dying. Of the 100 men who went, only 11 stood, and not one of them was untouched by pain. Oba knelt beside Uchenna's shattered body. Blood bubbled at his lips. "Tell Chiamaka," he whispered. "I tried." Then he died, with his hand still gripping the charm she had given him. The survivors cut the beast's head from its body. It took 6 men to lift it. They wrapped Uchenna's body in vines and leaves, and with heavy steps, made the slow, silent descent back to Umuofia. The battle was won, but they had left too much behind. The silence after the battle was not space, it was pain. It crept over the hill like smoke, thick and choking. Oba dropped his bloodied spear. His knees gave away, and he fell beside Uchenna's lifeless body. He placed a trembling hand on his friend's chest, hoping for breath. There was none, just stillness. "Uchenna," he whispered, voice breaking. "We made it, but you are not here." The remaining warriors staggered into the clearing, stepping over broken spears and bodies they had once joked with. The fog had lifted now, but what it revealed was not hope, it was horror. Kelechi, limping, called out names with a dry, cracking voice. "Chukwu, Obiora, Ifeanyi." No answer. Mothers ran forward. Wives clutched babies to their chest. Children pointed at the men wrapped in blood and silence. "Where is my son? Where is my husband?" Oba stepped forward, shaking. Many did not return. The crowd parted as Chiamaka pushed through. Her wrapper was loose, her hair undone. Her eyes searched every face until they landed on the bundle of cloth carried by Oba and Kelechi. "No," she whispered. They laid Uchenna down. She fell to her knees, hands trembling as she pulled back the cloth. His face was peaceful, almost asleep. She screamed, the kind of scream that curdled the blood. It echoed across the square, into the huts, into the trees. Her hands clutched his, then his face. "We were supposed to start. We hadn't even begun." She kissed his forehead, pressed her face into his chest and wept. Other women wailed. Mama Kelechi collapsed when she heard Eteka's name. She tore at the earth with her fingers. "You said you'd come back," she cried over and over. Adaku, Nnamdi's wife, stood silent, holding her children tightly, tears running down her neck like rivers. She said nothing, just stared at the bodies laid in a row. 11 burials were prepared. No drums, no chants, only silence. They placed the gorilla's head beneath the great Iroko tree, wrapped in vines and cloth. It was not a trophy, it was a reminder. The people touched it with reverence and fear. Oba stood beside the grave. His arm was in a sling, his eyes hollow. "We brought back the head," he said, "but we left our hearts on that hill." The survivors did not boast. They did not gather in the square. They avoided the sun. They spoke only to the dead. The battle was over, but the prize would never be forgotten.